Huge thank you to Toyota of Naperville for letting me borrow the car in this video. Toyota of Naperville is one of the largest Toyota dealers in Illinois, ready to find the right car for you. Alright, what's up guys? My name is Zach, and today I am driving a 2007 Lexus RX 350. Up front is a 3.5 liter V6, and down below is a 5-speed automatic transmission. Now, I am super excited to be driving this here RX 350 for two reasons. First of all, this is one of the most interesting colored cars I've ever driven. But the second reason is the fact that this particular version, the 2007 that I'm driving right now, has 307,000 miles on it. But I bet if I didn't say something, you wouldn't have guessed it was that much. And so I'm excited to dive into this car today, what makes it tick, and what makes it so special. But before we get on to anything else, I have a website, ZachPradel.com, where you can buy stickers and other merchandise when it becomes available. You could also submit your own vehicle to be reviewed by me through a quick and easy submission form, and you get a video of your car just like this one. And you could read my behind-the-scenes blog to see what I'm filming before it comes out on the channel. But let's get back to that 3.5 liter 2GR-FE. Well, this engine is used across Toyota and Lexus products so abundantly. I recently drove a 2013 Toyota Highlander, same exact engine in there. It makes about 270 horsepower, which is a good amount for a 3.5 liter, but this engine is built to go the distance, and we'll talk a lot about that at the end of the video in my final thoughts segment. Like I said, paired to it is a 5-speed automatic. I would have liked a 6th gear, maybe a highway gear. However, 5-speed was pretty traditional for the mid-2000s, and so I can't really complain too much about it. Last but not least, the RX 350 is all-wheel drive. So how does it feel to actually drive the RX 350? Well, the first thing I notice is the visibility. The visibility is very good forward. It's an SUV, so it's not going to be great behind me. The steering has decent input. When I put it into a corner, I don't get loads of body roll. Of course, it is higher up, so I do get a little bit of body roll. The throttle isn't too touchy, and what can I say? It's a fine driving experience. But with that out of the way, let's talk about the interior. Well, in front of me, I have three main gauges. Off to the left is a tachometer, in the center is a speedometer, and off to the right is my coolant temperature and fuel. On the steering wheel, on the left, I have my volume control, skip track, and mode, and off to the right, I have my phone options and voice commands, and of course, my cruise control stalk down to the bottom right. I get this sort of wood accent around the steering wheel, which I like. I think it looks nice, and it's pretty commonplace for most Lexuses of this era. Off to the left, I have a climate control vent, as well as my power mirror switches, my power door, which is for the rear tailgate, and then my gas cap release. Moving out of the door, I have two different memory seat options, lock and unlock, and power windows, which of course are all auto. Toyota and Lexus in this era were putting all auto typed out in text on their window buttons. I don't know why, but they did this all throughout the 2000s. Moving into the center, I do have a touchscreen display. This seems to have aged fine. It still works. It has navigation. It does have Bluetooth, disc, and tape. Kind of an interesting blend of options from the 2000s. Still offering cassette tapes, CDs, and Bluetooth. But intermixed, I do have my hazard switch and recirculating, as well as a digital clock, but I have my climate controls off to left and right. So I have temperature, auto, fan speed, fan off, front defrost, rear and mirror defrost, and then passenger temperature, so I do get dual zone. The thing is, I have to use the screen if I want to actually adjust the fan speed, unless I just leave it on auto, which is a little annoying. Then I do have more radio. This is where you actually put the CD and cassette player in. I have favorite buttons, volume, and seek on either side, and all of the goodies there. Moving down to the shifter center console, I do have my heated seat options. I love these little buttons because they pop out of the dash like old bass and treble adjustments, as well as I do have headlight washers, which is always fun to see in cars. We don't really get many of them here in America with headlight washers, so it's always a fun little gimmick to me. Then I have a 12-volt outlet and the shifter itself. This is the most traditional shifter you'll see from Toyota and Lexus. I call it the jigsaw shifter. Kind of have to move it left and right in order to get it in and out of gear. And this is so they didn't have to spend money engineering a button or safety lockout. Down on the floor, I do have a tray with another 12-volt outlet, which is very nice. But moving back up to the center console between the seats, I do have 2 cup holders. So we will do a big friggin' bottle test here in the 2007 Lexus RX 350. And it really is tight, but the bottle will go in. So I am happy to report that the 07 RX 350 does in fact, with a little persuasion, pass the big friggin' bottle test. Then I do have an openable center console, and it's this clamshell opening, which is pretty typical. However, it actually has a close feature. I don't know how this works. It must be some type of spring. I don't think it's electronic, but I'm not an engineer. I don't know how this works, but I think it's really, really cool that it does. Then we got to talk about the seats. This whole interior is finished in tan. I really, really like the seats. I think they look good. They've held up really, really well for 300,000 miles. It really goes to show what a little bit of car care can do for your seats. But speaking of seats, we do have back seats. So let's go do a backseat review. All right, so we're in the back of the 2007 Lexus RX 350, and a couple of things to note. First of all, sitting up straight, my knees are starting to touch the seat a little bit, which is totally fine. Head, though, is not hitting the ceiling. I do get a light up here, which is very nice. I get grab handles, power windows that are auto, of course. And I do get a little center console, openable cup holders in here, as well as an openable storage compartment as well. So plenty of options in the back of the RX 350. Overall, I'm okay with the back seats. I wish that they were a little bit roomier, just because every time I think of Lexus, I think luxury, and I think of room and space and light, and it's just a tiny bit too crammed for my liking, but definitely not a bad back seat. I'm just being picky. What's new with the world? Let's hop out. We'll take a quick look at the trunk and cargo space, and then we'll talk about the looks. All right, so we're on the back of the Lexus RX 350 from 2007. I do have a button here on the key fob. Look at that. The power tailgate still goes up after 300,000 miles. What a beautiful sight. But once we are back here, tons of space. I love this. It's all finished in the same tan material. Really, really like that. Of course, we do have a privacy cover that we can pull out. Little cargo light over here. I wish I would have seen a 12-volt outlet, but it's a little before this era. Oh, there it is. Never mind. We do have a 12-volt outlet. I was wrong. I can also pull this up, and I get more storage down there for the jack and things like that. So tons of cool usable space in the back of the RX 350. Now we gotta talk about the looks, and I like the look of the RX 350. It's fine. I don't think it's particularly super attractive, but we have to talk about this exterior color. It is called Bamboo Pearl, and it seems as though every time I look at it, it's a different color. Driving it, the hood looks baby blue, but then you get out and you see these tans and greens and grays, and it is a wonderfully, wonderfully beautiful color. Although, I'm a little sad because it is an overcast day, so I feel like you can't see this color in its full brilliance, and that is a little bit of a shame. But let's get on to my final thoughts. What do I think driving a 2007 RX 350? Well, there's a couple of things I want to talk about. First of all, this is the second generation of RX, but it got a facelift for this 2007 model year, but it was discontinued for the third gen in 2008. So this is really only a 2-year body style, which I find to be interesting, and I've reviewed the third generation as well. That'll be linked at the end of this video. But I do want to talk about the mileage on this car. 300,000 miles is not something easily done. And yet, look at this car. Take a really good look at this interior. Take a really good look at this exterior. Would you have been able to tell that it had 300,000 miles on it if I didn't say so at the beginning of the video? My bet would be that you couldn't, because I couldn't. This car drives like it has 80,000 miles on it. And that to me is spectacular. But the interesting thing is that, like I said, I drove a third generation RX, and that had 260,000 miles on it, and I could barely tell besides a little rip in the seat, and the seat belts were a little discolored. The RX chassis is built to last a very long time. And so there's a little idea that I want to talk about. It's called survivor bias. Basically, back in World War II, which was the first time that planes were really fully utilized in a war, researchers started marking down all the places in which a plane was hit upon return. So, in theory, they can make the armor stronger in those areas. And so this is the diagram that they ended up coming back with. All of those red dots were critical areas where planes that returned got hit. So immediately you think, let's reinforce those areas. That's the smart thing to do. But if you notice, around the centers of the wings, there were no critical hits. So you would think, oh, that doesn't need to be improved. Well, it actually does, because planes that got hit in those locations never made it back to base in order for the research to be done. So actually, all of those red dots were places the planes could get hit and still fly home. But the places where there weren't red dots meant that the planes weren't coming home at all. The reason I bring that up, although I find it fascinating, is that oftentimes I'll see a Lexus RX 350 that's a little rusty, a little worse for wear in traffic. And I think, oh, that's not a well taken care of car. That's a crappy car. But I'm not considering the survivor bias. This car outlived all of the other cars. Don't focus on how crappy it runs at 300,000 miles. Focus on the fact that it made it to 300,000 miles. This car is a survivor. It's a trooper. And it's done so with such grace and elegance. It's really truly aging like Morgan Freeman. Driving this car, I would have thought, yeah, maybe it has like 120K on it just because of how old it is. Not double that. Not over double that. This, to me, is such an impressive piece of machinery. So don't fault the Lexuses that might be a little bit beat up on the road. Praise them for getting there in the first place. I'd like to see your car hit 300,000 miles. Not a simple task. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Huge thank you to Toyota of Naperville for letting me take out their Lexus RX 350. This is one of their vehicles they have available right now, as well as tons of other used products. We've been working together for 4 years, and I cannot say enough good things about them. Their service is fantastic, and their information can be found on the screen or in the description below. But I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Don't forget to rate the video, comment on the video, and subscribe if you really liked it. Take care, guys.